It's time to bust some dehydrating myths. Are you ready to start? I'm Darcy from the Purposeful Pantry, and I want to be your dehydrating BFF. So I've been dehydrating for almost 20 years. I started when my kids were smaller. I've practiced on many things, and I've learned a thing or two about the rules of safety. But sometimes practical has to come into it as well. So let's talk about 7 dehydrating myths that we can bust to make dehydrating easier for you to put food in the pantry for your family for any time that you need it. Okay, so the number 1 myth that I'm gonna bust right now is that the temperature matters. Unless you're doing proteins where you're trying to keep the temperature up high enough that you don't have to worry about bacterial issues with jerky not being done at a high enough temperature. So the secret is that the temperatures otherwise don't really matter. Over the course of time, I've learned that the recommended temperatures that are given by the National Center for Home Food Preservation are there for a reason. It's to get the best quality food in the fastest time possible. But something I've learned as I practice doing this for my family, as we put food away for ourselves, those temperatures don't always work. And sometimes you have to make adjustments to get the thing that you want to have happen. But let's take an example. Temperature for fruit is 135 to 140 by the National Center for Home Food Preservation. But over time, I've learned that you want to lower that to keep the color. So I have this big jar of oranges here. Too many times I see people say, I tried citrus and they turned dark. What happened? It's because you went by the recommended temperature. The natural sugars that happen in here will turn dark with heat. So I recommend dropping that temperature to 125 or below, that's 52°C or below, to keep a better color for your fruit. Now, does that mean it's going to dry in the same time? No, it's going to take a little bit longer, but you'll be much happier with the results. Myth number 2, you have to have perfect storage. Yes, in a perfect world, no light, no oxygen, no moisture, no heat is perfect. Is my house perfect? Is my ability to do that perfect? Absolutely not. You'll see right here, this is my dehydrating cabinet. This is where I keep most of my dehydrated foods, and they have light on them. But that's okay, because I know that just means they're not going to last forever. I'm going to rotate through them a little more quickly than I might have if I had perfect storage. In my regular pantry, it backs onto the garage, which means that wall is hot. Our food stays hot in there, and there's nothing we can do about it because there is no other place to put a pantry or even our food in our house. So I know that means our food does not last as long as it should last because of the heat. It's not a perfect world. So what do? I know and I rotate. I do want to make sure that my food is kept in containers that are airtight, which means that no air gets in or out of them, which means you're not having that. But what I use can be anything. I can use canning jars. I can use commercial jars from the store that I recycle. As long as they have an airtight lid on them, they're good. I can use Mylar bags if I wanted to, but I don't like to use them. I find them a little bit more wasteful, and they don't work with my brain, so I can't organize them quite the way I need to. I can't see what's in them, which means they won't get used as often, but use what works for you, okay? Now, the other part on this is air. So even though this is an airtight container, which means no air transfers in here, there is still air and moisture inside of this jar. Am I concerned about it? No, because there's not a lot. What I would do, typically I would tell you, is that when you start using down your food, you have 2 options. Either transfer it to a smaller container so that you have less excess of that air here, or vacuum seal it, because that will help remove the excess air and moisture from here and help your food last a little longer without having to transfer the food all the time. Now, this is one that I go through pretty quickly, and I'm not worried about doing that because I know I'm going to use this up before that's an issue. But the idea of having absolutely perfect food storage 100% of the time is a myth. It doesn't have to be that way. Use what you have available, and make it work for you. Okay, myth number 3. You lose all the nutrition of your food when you dehydrate it. That's a lie. It's not even a myth. It's a lie. Now, temperature plays into this. The higher you dehydrate something, the more nutrients you might lose over time. Some vitamins, like vitamin A and C, are heat sensitive, and you will lose them over a long period of time. Some vitamins are water soluble, like vitamin B's, when you blanch food ahead of time to prep it. So yes, you can lose those. Managing your temperature will help keep all the nutrients that you can possibly want. If you want to keep everything in a state of raw, dehydrate under 115F to 43C, okay? Those temperatures and under, and the lower you go, the better it is. Those will keep the raw quality of your food, which will keep all of the nutrients. Now, you're going to lose those nutrients once you cook the food anyway. So you can balance that by, do I want to store it fully done, or do I want to go ahead and get it done faster, dried at the regular temperatures, and know that I'm going to lose those nutrients anyway when they get under heat when you cook them. But if you're wanting to keep them raw for snacking, or for that's just what you want, keep those temperatures low and you can keep all of your nutrients. Don't believe the myth that you lose everything, because then what's the point of doing it? Myth number 3, you should only dehydrate what you grow. That's the kind of thing I hear from people that look at me and judge me because I don't grow all my own food. And if you can, that's awesome. But there are plenty of us who are out there that need help. And so we will buy from local farmers markets, buy from CSAs, we will buy from a grocery store, we'll buy from any place that we can get extra food from, we will buy, because that's what we have to do to stock food for our families, just like you grow for yours. One of the fastest ways that I can produce food for my family to put in the pantry so that we have it all year long is that I go buy frozen vegetables from the grocery store. They're already prepped, blanched, and ready to go. I can pour them on my trays, get them dry, and put them up. And then I have the freshest food that I can get for my family all year long. It's what you can do too. If you can't grow your own food, find it where you can find it and put it up. It's okay. Myth number 5. I think that we're at 5. You can't dehydrate meat. I beg to differ. Now, here's the thing. You have to keep the temperature up high enough to keep your protein safe, which is going to be from 145 F, 57 C on up. However, you can dehydrate meats. You can store it on the shelf. The problem is that it's not reliably shelf stable depending on the kind of meat you put up because of the fat that may be there. No matter how much you try to get rid of all the fat, there's still some there that can turn rancid over time. Now, this is going to always be anecdotal. You're going to hear people say, I've had meat on the shelf for 2 years and it's fine. It is for them. I've had my ground beef that I've tested, 18 months is as far as we got with it. However, I could have lost that meat after a month because it just depends on the fat that's there, that's left over, and it's a protein. It just does not last as long in a dehydrated state as if it was freeze-dried. So here's the deal about dehydrating meats. Use low-fat proteins whenever possible. Get rid of as much of it as you can, and I'm going to leave a video right up here, that shows you how I did the dehydrated beef and how I stored it. Then store it in the freezer for the best storage option. You can still take it out to put in a meal in a jar that you're going to take with you on a trip or a backpacking trip. That's still fine. You can store it on the shelf if you want, but just understand that over time, it may turn rancid. Number 6. I think that's what I'm not on. I've already lost track. I'll leave the number up here to help us keep track. The next myth is probably the biggest one that I run across all the time. And that is, the book told me to dry it at this time and it would be dry. Time, as we know it, is a human-made construct, or it's a philosophical state of being. It's not something that tells you exactly what your food is going to do in your dehydrator. You can put your food in, you can set your timer, but your food doesn't know that when that timer goes off, it's supposed to be done. Like, how can it know that? It doesn't. Your food is done when it's done, and it can be affected by these things. The strength of your dehydrator, the humidity in your home, if it's like really raining or anything like that, that's going to make the time go longer. How you prepped your food. Did you get it really thin or are you making big chunks? How packed do you make it on your trays? But there's all sorts of things that can affect the amount of time that things take to go in the dryer. Sometimes it's only a little bit. Sometimes it's actually a lot. So don't go by the time that's given in any book or on my website or in my book. Those are just merely suggested times that it might take. Know that if your timer goes off, you have to check the food. If it's dry, it's dry. If it's not, put it on for longer. It's not going to hurt anything. Let it dry. When it's dry, it's dry. That's what I always say. Knowing that the time is there just as a suggestion, it's never concrete. Myth number 7. Rehydration alone isn't going to cut it. Simply rehydrating your vegetables to put in a meal is not all that there is to doing it. The thing is that when you dry your food, you didn't cook it fully. So it needs time after rehydration to cook the rest of the way that it goes. Now, for some foods, it will just be a few minutes. For some foods, like peas, it may take forever because peas are just that way. They're evil little creatures in the dehydrating world. But in rehydrating, you're putting water back into the food. What you're not doing is cooking that food. Now, if you cooked your food fully ahead of time and then rehydrated it, that's an instant meal, which a lot of campers do. That then rehydration, a little heat is all you need. But for most of us, we don't fully cook our food before we put it onto our pantry shelves in single ingredients. So it needs time to reheat and to cook. So when you rehydrate something and then you put it and you throw it into a meal, and you expect after a couple minutes it's going to be ready to go, and you eat it and you go, oh, it was hard and I didn't like it, or it was a weird texture and I didn't like it. Likely it was because it never had enough time to fully cook. So give it that space. What I will do sometimes is I will put it on a pot on the stove in some simmering water, let it be there for a while before I actually put it in the meal that I'm going to cook it in. Especially if I do something like cottage pie, which is one of my favorite things to make. I don't put those dehydrated vegetables right into it and expect them to rehydrate fully when there's not enough liquid in there. So I do it ahead of time and I make sure they're ready while I'm prepping everything else. Then I toss them in as an ingredient. They cook when they cook. And that's how it works. When you're putting something into a soup, putting it in there and expecting it to be ready 5 minutes later, it needs time to cook. So let it simmer and let it have its time. Your food needs that time. So the myth of it being instant ready all the time, it's not. You need to give it that time. So if you have a question about dehydrating that you need answered, put it in the comments below. I want to hear it. Let me know and let's get those questions answered for you so that dehydrating can become easier for you to put more food on your pantry shelf for your family for any time that you need it. I'm going to have resources down in the description box for you, and up here in the iCards, they'll pop up there as well. I'll also put links in the first comment so you can see that as well. I'll try to make it really easy for you. And remember that nevertheless, she preserved. And until I see you again next time, happy dehydrating.